Welcome back. My name is JP and we are busy with Module 2 for Divi, a great builder. I'm going to step away from building in this chapter, but I'll still be working within Divi. Important chapter. We're going to talk about something that has been happening in the world of website builders, and it has also spilled into Divi. Having worked with Brizzy so close to the team for many years, I kind of understand why many developers are doing it. And then I will tell you at the very end why I think if you are a beginner, if you are making just 1 or 2 or 3 or even 4 websites, if you are not creating massive websites, let's say 3 to 5 pages, even 10 pages, why all of the hype that's going on is totally overhyped, and that you should not buy into it or fall into that trap. We're going to talk about the variable manager within Divi. It's something that I've mentioned to you from Module 1, and almost every influencer on YouTube that is a Divi user is promoting this. I will not promote it. I will say it's there, but I'm going to explain to you in the coming chapters and modules why I will not use it in 95% of the cases, even more. So we'll look at this variable manager. It's important. You should know it's there. We'll look at number variables at a very basic level. And then we're going to quickly talk about this generator for fluid sizing variables. And then how this is all tied into a concept called web development tools. This is my mock-up that I'm working, and not dashboard. I want to go to the front end. And we've created this here at the top, and this is the next section that we will be creating. But I want to just quickly show you what we have here and how this concept comes into the world of web development and then variables, where this all comes from. This section here, this layout that I have here, I'm going to be repeating it consistently throughout my site. In fact, this is almost every section you will see in the next chapters will look like this with a few variations here and there. What we have is that we have an overline here at the top. Then we have our section heading, which is the H2. I have on this side a divider, which you will see will also repeat throughout the site. I have this text, which I call base text. Then I call this one base dark, and then I have a button. The important thing where it comes into variables is that the concept of variables is that I never type in the sizes of these modules when I work with them. I set those sizes somewhere else. To show you what I have going on here, this text here at the top is at 14 pixels. Then I also have that same 14 pixels over here. But not only over there, I also have it here in the button. And then I have a slight variation of that for this darker one, which is 16 pixels. Apart from the fact that this 14 and 16 is used on my desktop, I keep it consistent to tablet and mobile. So I don't have to change that. The only time I have it change is for this H2 heading. And what I do for the H2 is the main heading is set at 36 pixels. And for my tablet is 36 and mobile is 30. And this is how I usually write my little notes if I have to remember what is what. If I see it like this, 36, 36, 30, then I know this is desktop, tablet, mobile. And then I have a divider here, which I just point out to you. This is actually the only sizes that I will use for my fonts throughout this entire website. Apart from that hero section that we built, I'm not going to use that again. I'm not going to change the sizes. I'm only going to use 4 sizes throughout this website: 14, 16, 36, and 30. Just like we did with colors, where we put the colors there and we give it a name. Then when we come onto the page, we use the colors. We're going to do the same with these values. Jump back. I'll close the layers panel. I'll open the variable manager. And remember, we did colors, right? So we did the colors over here. Let's have a quick look there. We brought in the colors. We added our own. And every time we want to use this, we just go to whatever it is, like this text module, design text, and we just choose it here. We don't need to set the color again. Then we also had the same for fonts. We decided we put the fonts in here, so we don't have to go and choose the fonts every time here. We just reference it through the insert dynamic content little icon over here. Now we get to that numbers issue. Just sit back, follow along, and you don't have to do this. To make this website, or any website for that matter in the future, next I'm going to show you, you don't have to do it. In fact, I probably won't do it, but I want you to see this because this is the hype that is going on at the moment. Elementor is also bringing that in, and it's mostly a hype. I'll say it again, if you're just creating 1 to 3, if you're creating not over super complex websites, then you don't need to do any of this. I'll explain to you at the end why this is happening. The numbers, now we are working with a number, and a number can be so many things. In our case, just to go back to this image that we have here, our number is a pixel value. Don't think in terms of font size. It is just a value. It's 14 pixels. Sometimes we can use this value for spacing. Sometimes we can use it for margin. We can use it for padding. We can even use it to create round borders, right? In this case, though, all of these numbers are for our font. And what we do now is we're going to create these numbers. So it's a global number every time we just use it. Let's start with the first one, which is the 14 pixels. And I will call this my base number. I don't know what to call it. There is a way in how you do it. You call it text M. And what text M means is that it's your medium value, which is your base value. But you don't have to use these technical jargon. You can go ahead and call it anything you want. So what I will do is I'll just call it base 14. Then in the value, you type in 14, and do remember to type in the pixels. If you forget, it will not warn you that when you try to use it later, it will not appear. And that's where the confusing part comes in. But remember, apart from the 14, I also had a 16, which is also going to be a base preset. So I'll call this one base 16. And you'll soon begin to understand why all of what I'm doing is kind of redundant. Then I have my heading, and I'll just call it heading D, which is desktop. And that's my terminology, and that's going to be 36 pixels. And then I will have the next one, which is going to be heading, and that will be mobile. I don't need it for tablet, and that will be 30 pixels. 4 values. Is that right? Let's have a look quickly again here. 36. Yes, only 4. Why did I count 5 previously? Only 34. Only 4. As before, this annoying little thing here at the bottom, save variables, very important. Otherwise, they will not appear. And again, click on apply changes. What happens now? I'll bring in a section on the page. 2 columns, doesn't matter. And I'll just add a text module to it. Click on the text, select it. We go to design and go to the text option. Where you see now the text size, you go to these little disks, that dynamic, what is it called again? This time it doesn't give me any info. Select it, and you see all of these appear here. When I select base 14, nothing changes because resetting it, it's already by default 14, and that is the default value that comes in with Divi. Of course, we often use like 16 or 18, but in this case, on this design, I'm going to stick to 14. Let's say I want it on 16. Then you go to the little disks and you use base 16, and my text on the page goes up to 16. Note, though, what the value or what the label is within this field. It doesn't give me the name of the value. I called it base 16. It actually gives me the value, 16 pixels. No confusion. You know exactly what is the value, or in the world of variables, what is the number. Now, what does this mean? it means that if tomorrow morning and I wake up and I say, shoot, man, 16 is way too small. I want it actually to be 18. Then I go to my website and I just come here to the variables where I have it at base 16 and I just update it to 18, like what I'm doing now. The moment I click on Save Variable, look at my text on the page, it grows because now it's 18. Or I can go the other direction, like, ooh, who came up with this idiotic idea of 18? It has to be 12. And I put in 12, and that's how it works. Let's put it back on 16 because that's what we're working for. Click on Save Variables. And remember, it will only update the moment you click on Save Variables. But why is this redundant? The moment Divi brought in their preset system, which we covered in Module 1, and in the next chapter, we're going to set up all our presets. Going back to this little design we have here, I'm going to have a preset for, well, let me get my shapes. I'm going to have a preset for my overline. This one. I'm going to have a preset for this one. I'm going to have a preset for this one, a preset for this one, going to have a preset for this one, and a preset for this one. In total, we're going to have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 presets that we're going to create. And in those presets, we're going to lock these numbers in anyway. And that means that if I wanted to make a change in the future to the text size, I can just do it within the preset. I don't have to go and change the number variable. The two kind of cancels each other out because this is the latest fad and this is what everyone is chasing. I want to just show you this at a very basic level. What is happening in terms of numbers? What does it mean? What is a number? Sit back even further because now we go to how this is actually done at a next step and a higher level. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to show you. Next to the numbers, inside the Variable Manager panel, go all the way to the right and hover over this icon. Just like with our colors, it says Generate Fluid Sizing Variables. I'll click that. I'm going to close the Variable Manager, open it again. Let's do it one more time so I can have better sizing here. It looks bigger. Together with this concept of variable numbers or number variables, comes the concept of fluid typography. Go to Scale Type and you will see we have CSS, clamp, responsive, and single. Don't let it get to you. When you have time, you can go around and play with this. I want to explain to you that this concept of clamp is also what is driving this fashion. How we work currently in the world of website building is that I create this text here, then I go to a breakpoint for tablet and I change it to a smaller value, and then I go to phone and I change it even to a smaller value. Clamp allows me to just put in one value, and as the screen resolution, the size of the device shrinks, that text will also shrink and grow on a mathematical basis, and there is no jump from desktop to tablet to mobile. That break doesn't happen. It's all fluid. What you will hear influencers tell you online, yeah, there's this big jump from desktop to mobile. That is just a ridiculous argument. Why? Because no person who takes their mobile device and sit with their mobile device goes like, oh, look at the jump. I just went from desktop there to mobile and it's different. Do you understand how ridiculous? It's totally lunacy, that argument. But that is what everyone is telling us. You have to go to Variable Manager. You have to go to Clamp because it jumps. When I open my mobile and I check a website on my mobile, nobody knows it jumped. It's just there. It is a choice. That is what it is. We've been creating websites with the breakpoint system now for years, and it will continue because it's not broken. Pardon the pun. It works very well, and it's easy to understand, and it's easy to implement. Once you go to variables and you go to clamp, you need to go learn some stuff. You need to learn about viewport width. You need to learn about rem. You need to work on a clamp calculator. And that is what happens when you go to numbers and you click here on this fluid calculator for the fluid scale. Now, I'm saying all these negative things about this, but I actually love this system. I love how awesome it is that I can set something and I get all these values that I can use. But practically, I just don't use it, especially on average websites. 80% of the websites online will never use it. To give you an idea of what this is all about, under scale type, all I do here is I go over here to base minimum font size phone, and I say for my minimum for my font size, I'm going to have my paragraph text at 16, which is the standard. And I'm going to put it on a scale of 1.125. And there are others. Another famous one is the major third. But for your phone, the 1.125 is a very good one. If you look over here on base font size for desktop, it's 18, which is also a good value. But here the font size is different. It's at 1.25. What happens here is with all of these settings, the generator now gives you all of these numbers. It tells you there's one at 16, here's one at 18, then 20.25, then 22.7x, and you can see it grows. Above medium, it grows, and below medium, it shrinks. Now remember, what did I do here on the left? I created 14, 16, 36, and 30. And that's exactly what is happening here. But instead of me typing it in one by one by one, the generator is creating all these values for me. I don't have to go and put the values in there one by one. And once I've created this with the generator, all I need to do is click here on Add Variables to my site. I'll do that, click on Variables, and look at what happens here. All of them drop in. Now look at the field. Over here, you saw 16 pixels next to text M. But look at what's going on here. We increase it, close the generator, and increase it some more, and some more, and some more. We know that text M is 16 pixels. But what the generator does, it puts it into this new thing, or not new, into this concept of clamping. And it tells us this is the formula to get 16 pixels on mobile device or 18 pixels on a desktop device. It's pretty complicated, right? You don't need to go and learn this. I actually know how to do this from scratch, but the generator helps you to build out a system without having to think of how you're going to set up this calculation. Again, here is my question. The benefit of this is, once we do this, remember, this grows automatically with the screen size. I don't need to set up breakpoints. And that's a strange concept for many people, like, but how does it go to tablet and how does it go to mobile? It doesn't care about that. Those are abstract concepts for the website builder. Now it just shrinks and grows depending on what the user is interacting with. I'll delete all of this. In fact, I don't have to delete it because I didn't save it, so it will not appear. I'll go back to the generator. And like I said, this is just an overview informative session. You don't need to do this at all. And there it is still. It is so annoying. Let me see if I refresh this page. Wait a minute. Did I not? I probably didn't save that. And I ran into this before that I couldn't get rid of those variables. So this is a new thing that came in, but at the same time, yep, you see there, I didn't even save it. So let me delete again. And then click on Save Variables and Apply Changes. Refresh and see if it's still there. I'll be very unhappy if it's still there. No, it's not there. Good. So I didn't save and I didn't apply, and then make sure that you save your page. But let's go back to the generator. I just want to show you the rest. One thing Divi has done, which I'm very grateful for, is that they've not only stuck to this clamp system, they brought in one that is called responsive. And that is what you and I have been doing with these numbers for the 36 and the 30, that when you go from desktop, you go to tablet, you go to mobile, and that's what they've done. Up here, They have desktop on the right, then tablet, and then phone. And what you see here now in the generator on the left is a very simplified version. You have your breakpoints for the phone, you have breakpoints for tablet, and you have your breakpoints for the desktop. And what you do is you set your base. So for example, for my phone, in this case, let's say I only want it on 14. And you can see the moment I type in 14, text M here is 14 pixels. All of the others update. Let's make it 16, and you see they update. So it says text M, medium, is my base text, and then I have text large, extra large, 2XL, 3XL, and then the small ones below that. And it uses this scale. If you look at this visual representation, you may think, oh, wait a minute, but this is just too small an increment. I would like it to grow a little bit bigger. And that's where you go to the ratio, the scale over here. And you can choose something like 1.414. Now you can see every time to the next value, it grows significantly more. And if that is too much, you drop it down to something like 1.25, which is very popular, the 1.25 and the 1.33. For mobile devices, it's 1.125. If I don't need it for my phone, I just want to generate the values for my desktop, I uncheck phone, I uncheck tablet, and now I only have desktop, and here on the display we see it only shows one set of values. This is actually more than enough. This doesn't really mean it is locked to your desktop. These are just numbers, they're only values. And this takes a little bit of time to figure out that it doesn't mean this is connected to your sizing or to your spacing, like your margins or your borders, your border radius or your fonts. These are just numbers. And with that, if you go to the top where it says variable type, apart from font size, you're going to get other generators. You get spacing. This is familiar. You can see we have here spacing now, and spacing is all about your padding. And again, you have the same system that you can use here to generate numbers. You have gap, and the gap is that space between columns. You can generate that as well. What is else here? We have radius for your borders. We have your border width, how thick it is. That's a nice one actually to have if you work a lot with borders. And then you have the width as well. This is a lot of stuff, right? And I think at this point we have to come to this question: why on earth is this here? Why is there so many stuff, and is it important? The answer is no. And for that, I would recommend you go watch a video that Darel Wilson made a few months ago. And everybody knows Darel Wilson on his page, and I'll put the link in the description below. And it's called this one, Dear Elementor, in which he addresses the direction with Elementor version 4, the atomic release, and why that is a step in the wrong direction, as you are alienating beginners and people who are just making quick websites and just that one-time website. Go and watch this, and he will raise the concept of web development. Web development refers to people who come from a coding background that will create websites entirely from scratch. And they started using tools like WebTool, and there are a number of other builders on the market that actually help them to just bring in these concepts that they use and create websites much more easily. They are not the majority. And that is what Darel Wilson also explains in his video. Some of these tools like Webflow and Bricks started bringing in these concepts from the beginning when they made their website builders. And the purpose was to cater specifically for this group. Specifically, they wanted to give a framework in which web developers could easily work within. The one thing that web development tools does, however, it brings in a lot of flexibility. And with time, this started infiltrating the rest of the website builders. Darel Wilson has his opinion, which I agree with why this is happening. I also want to add my 2 cents here why this is happening. Everyone is trying to stand out and get noticed. And it's not a matter of whether the developers of Elementor actually believe you will use this. It's more that they need to get something out there to promote and look like they are ahead of the competition. And I say this from having inside experience. A very good example, it starts with SEO. Yes, SEO is important, but there was a time that everyone realized that SEO is the big talking point. And they went all out. You can almost go and check 3 years ago, every blog article on every website builder on the market was about SEO, SEO, SEO. And then it changed. Can you guess what was the next fashion? Of course, it was AI. Everyone started bringing in AI. The strange thing is the people I work with don't use it. The AIs aren't that reliable. Some of them make great websites like Claude, but if you are working with a page builder, in the end, you still need to know the page builder. And as AI started losing steam, this idea of variables started coming in. And once Elementor brings it in and this train starts gaining momentum, almost everyone has to jump on board. But I just want to tell you this, if you hear about you have to change, this is the only way, you must do it, just know this person is selling you something you don't need. This is the same person who told you you must have AI. This is the same person who sold you SEO packages 3 or 4 years ago that you have no idea how to work. Instead of focusing on creating good content for your website, they cashed in on this. It's a money machine. That is my point. Is it important? Yeah, for web developers, they want variables. They love it and they want to use it. Do you need to use it? If you're a beginner, intermediate, even advanced, no ways. Am I going to use it? Almost never. But like this website here, I've got 4 font values. I don't need to go into a generator and generate something like, oh, now my website is so fluid. Oh man, look at this. Because I need to go and generate each of those clamps. I have to set it up. I know exactly what I want. This is a long in-between chapter, but I did need to show you what the number of variables are about and why there are all of these others, including spacing, gap, radius, border width, the works. They are all there. Not only was this video long and probably a little bit unnecessary for this tutorial, it was very difficult because I had this black cat who only shows up, like I've said a million times, when I put this microphone in front of me, it's like a magnet, and she's been going back and forth, and I'm pretty sure it's going to drive me nuts in editing. Now that we've talked about variables, I'm probably not going to touch on it again. I'll show you how to do clamp, but that will not be part of the module series. If you're interested in clamp, then I'll show you in a separate video how to do it, where the concept comes from, how we started with viewport width, how we then started using it in terms of adding the clamps at the left and the right, basically the minimum and the maximum, and how that really helps with fluid design. That will not be part of the module series because it's just unnecessary. Know this is there. Know that in the coming months, you're going to see everyone promoting this over and over. Just look at it, be interested in it, but don't let it get to you. Don't let it scare you because guess what? You're probably not going to use it.